أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. So we now move on to chapter 109 in our short tafsir journey. So we are now on Surah Al-Kafirun. The Prophet ﷺ would quite often couple this surah with Surah Ikhlas in his Fajr prayer. So Surah Kafirun is a rejection of shirk, and Surah Ikhlas is an affirmation of Islam, it's an affirmation and confirmation of the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The background to this chapter is that the Prophet ﷺ would be harassed by the disbelievers in many ways, and often very aggressive, in a very aggressive manner. And they would try many times to sway the Prophet ﷺ to stop him in conveying his message. And therefore, in this chapter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also using very direct language. And he's been asked to do this even though it's actually against the nature of the Prophet, and in particular the nature of the Prophet ﷺ, who is obviously very kind, and he has kind words, and his mannerism is very soft. But he's being instructed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be very direct in this message. The Quraysh tried many times, as I said, to stop the Prophet ﷺ in his mission. And they would offer him wealth, they would offer him leadership, they would offer him, whomever he wants to marry, and give him power and leadership. And obviously the Prophet ﷺ would always reject this. And then they thought, okay, we'll try a different approach, we'll try a slightly softer approach. So they said, we'll have some negotiations with you. And what they said was that, look, they would say that for 1 year, we will worship your God, we will worship Allah. And then the following year, you can worship our gods. And then it will alternate every year in this manner. And we'll see in a few minutes in terms of why there's a repetition of one of the ayahs as well. So that was the backdrop to when this surah was revealed. And so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ, it's a very direct way of addressing the disbelievers. So it's saying, without any past tense or any future tense, that, oh unbelievers, so you unbelievers. So it's a very direct approach. As we know that there are other surahs in the Quran which also start off with Qul. Do you know what they are? Yeah? Falaq. And what's the other one? Yes, origin, mashallah. That's what most people don't get. So it's a very direct approach. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is because there comes a point, there comes a breaking point where you've given people so many chances, and you've given them everything that you can to bring them to Islam, to accept the Prophet ﷺ. And in the end, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's anger towards these people. And that's why there is this direct pointing at this group of people who are the disbelievers. And of course, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the future. So He knows what's in their hearts. He knows that they are not going to believe. Yeah. Kafara means to not just to disbelieve, but it means to deny the blessing. It means being ungrateful. Yeah. So when you reject the ni'mah, kufran al-ni'mah, you are rejecting the blessings. Of course, the greatest blessing to the people was the Prophet ﷺ, who they rejected. So this direct response is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then in ayah number 2, لا أعبد ما تعبدون, I do not serve that which you serve, or I do not worship what you worship. And this includes idols, it includes money, power, it includes desires, because worship includes the obedience and the love. The Prophet ﷺ is being told to say that he obeys and loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over everything else. And so the acts of worship require our full intention to be solely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then in ayah number 3, وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ, nor do you serve him whom I serve, or nor are you worshippers of what I worship. And notice how the word worship is used, not belief. Yeah? And this is because the Mufassirun said that a group of these people, they actually did deep down believe in Allah. But the problem was that they somewhat believed that the idols that they also worshipped would be intercessors for them. And also they had the age-old problem of not being able to let go of what their forefathers did. Yeah? And then in ayah number 4, وَلَا أَنَا عَابِدٌ مَا عَبَدْتُمْ, so nor will I be a worshipper of what you worship. There was never ever a time where the Prophet ﷺ, or any of the prophets would fall into idol worship or fall into shirk. It's not possible. So even when the Quran was not or had not been revealed, the Prophet ﷺ was a seeker. He was seeking his Lord. He was seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He knew that the worshipping of idols is falsehood, and he always contemplated and went to the cave and sought his Lord. And then in ayah number 5, this is the ayah that then is repeated, which is وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. And the scholars have given various reasons why this ayah has been repeated. One reason is for emphasis. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to remind people about the seriousness of something, it's as a reminder, so you say it twice. The other reason is to cover the offer that they were making. So they said, look, 1 year you worship our God, next year we will worship your God. And so this is a direct response to that. And then in the last ayah, لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ, for you is your religion and for me is my religion. Now, deen here, means religion, but it can also mean judgment. Yeah, so Maliki Yawmiddin doesn't mean the Malik of the religion. It means the Malik of Judgment Day. Okay, so it implies that both sets of people, so the believers and the disbelievers, are going to come before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the last day, and will be recompensed depending on what we have done. So it's like saying, you're going to have to deal with the choices that you have made. So if you have rejected Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you have rejected the Quran, if you have rejected the Prophet sallallahu, you are going to have to deal with that. We have, alhamdulillah, accepted Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have accepted the Quran, we have accepted the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and therefore we will inshallah have the rewards of that. One of the takeaway messages in this chapter is that we should never compromise anything in our religion. There's nothing to be ashamed about in our deen. You find many times people find certain things that are inconvenient, and so we almost sort of try and mold the deen according to us, but actually we should mold ourselves according to the requirement of the deen. We also find that we have to submit completely. It's not a case of mixing elements of other cultures or other religions into our deen. Yes, Islam is obviously very flexible and it's encompassing. I'm not saying that having cultural things are all incorrect, but if they are going to not be in line with the deen, then they should not be mixed together. There are many things that happen culturally that are most definitely against the Sharia, and so we mustn't mix these elements together. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on the straight path. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we remain on the path of Islam, that we die with La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and that we follow in his noble footsteps. And also just a note here as well is for people to be careful and not to call other people disbelievers. We find this as a big problem these days, especially on social media, where unfortunately Muslims are calling other Muslims disbelievers, and it's not right. You've got no right to call anybody a disbeliever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who knows what is in the hearts. Okay? If someone is saying that I believe in Allah and the Prophet ﷺ, then you leave it at that. You've got no right to point the finger at them. And this is a big problem that we have today, especially because of social media, people standing up and pointing fingers at each other. It's not right. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from these dangers and keep us on the straight path. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.